Hi, hello. Today we are starting another build challenge. And after searching through a lot of different cursed mods, I ended up with deciding on Lucky Block. I have another one in mind that I want to do, but that'll be next time. I usually stream this on Sundays. We're doing this on Saturday. Tomorrow is Father's Day. And I thought this would just be a fun one and that'd be an easy one-off and we can enjoy it. I had a lot of fun doing this and testing, and I'm very happy I tested because the first mod I tried, it was not the traditional Lucky Block experience that I wanted. It mostly just threw exploding cake at me and a couple of zombies and a huge amount of golden apples for some reason. I don't understand. But I finally found one that gave the actual experience, and I can actually do a challenge out of this, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Also, today's drink of the day for stream. Hello, Misty! Today's drink of the day is a lovely matcha. We've been running out of ice, and I do have one mold that I have. My friend got me from Japan. It's a cute little kitty cat mold. So this currently has kitty cat ice cubes, and it's very adorable. But hello, Misty. Welcome to a build challenge. We're gonna try to do with Lucky Block and see how this goes. It was so much fun to test. I'm so excited. And I'm very surprised. I managed to get stuff done. Can't stay but wanted to say hello. I appreciate it. I'm surprised I got this week's video done, because the entire week I've been working on building the paths for the server. Up until Friday is when I started recording. So I didn't have a lot of time to record, and I was trying to get it done. I was trying to get everything done, and my gotta steal was no longer steal yesterday. I had to quit early. I'm like, I'm just gonna exist. I'm just gonna vibe. I can't do this. I can't focus. So I finally got to working on it this morning, but apparently only like an hour of work left, and then I could immediately edit it all together. So by lunchtime, I'm like, what do I do now? So I just enjoyed playing some Cult of Lamb the rest of the day. Vibe out. I finally had the house to myself for a little bit, so that was nice. So I was just able to kick back. Markiplier screaming on the second monitor. Cult of Lamb on the first one on super hard, because apparently I decided this is what I'm doing now. Yes. Just sometimes you just gotta kick it back and exist. I had to go love up on Jenny, one of the cats. She's a big Maine Coon. She's a big Maine Coon, scaredy cat, and she's used to having people in the house. This is a busy house. Almost all of us are on different schedules. And there's usually at least one person in the house. And she's running around the house screaming her little head off. She doesn't know where the hell people are, and I have to go out there. It's okay. They'll be back soon. They're just doing Pokemon. They're doing community stuff. They're getting Pokemon. It's fine. You're fine. This is all okay. It's all just fine. But she's finally calmed down. She's been such a shy, scaredy cat. And now she's finally getting acclimated to the house, so she'll hang around and actually walk around while we're eating dinner. She'll actually go up to you, which she used to not do at all. She used to purely stay in the closet of my parents' room. So she's doing fantastic. Also, slight annoyance when I went live. It would have been like a minute earlier. Literally a minute earlier. I got this thing set up where you can do vertical broadcasting for Twitch, right? You can do a vertical Twitch stream so it's in a feed. It's in like a scroll feed, like a TikTok's Reels. I swear, I understand now why people don't think I'm young, because this is how I talk. The scroll feed, yes. The TikToks. The Reels. You put two Reels, you put it on the projector, and you scroll through. I got that all set up, and I went to click start streaming. I had everything set up. I had to rechange a lot of different scenes, and I couldn't copy paste it on over. So I had to do it by hand, and then I had to make new browser sources, because browser sources are so annoying about being rearranged on different scenes if you use the same one for different scenes. It's so annoying. So I had to redo all that, and I did all that. I had all that ready for today, and I started live. Your GPU cannot do this. So I'm just like, okay. Delete that, turn it off, start stream. But that's not what we're doing. We're doing Lucky Block. And it's gonna be very fun, so I'm gonna hop us on over to gameplay. There we go. We are across the island from the thing that was made last time from the Colorblind Challenge. Thank you for the lurk, Misty. We're across the island from the Colorblind Challenge from last week. Because I have a bunch of Lucky Blocks, and I imagine these... Actually, I know these are going to cause a lot of chaos, because I've been testing them, and I know this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So we're just going to throw right in. I know for a fact I can get some... You suck. You suck. How... I didn't give myself a pickaxe. Because I could break these ones by hand. I probably should have just let it. I need to change my respawn point. I need to set my respawn point over here because it's the last area that I was testing in. Yep, this is how I wanted to start this. This is exactly how I wanted to start this, please. Thank you! Okay. Just gonna casually set world spawn to this location, thank you. Boop. What's next? Oh, I forgot. I added chunky cats, but the textures don't work. So, yep. No! Not the cats! Oh, the poor cats! One survivor. You are a survivor, Olive. Oh, they named Olive. One of them's named Wolfie. It's almost Mysterio. It's Wolf, not Wolfie. Whatever. Gold. Oh, I'll have to come back for the gold when I have a pickaxe. When I... Can I get it? How many can I get? Oh. Oh, my gold is gone! Also, the general rule I'm gonna have for this... Ooh, lucky axe. Is if it's something spawned by the lucky block, I can use it for the build. So this blacksmith, I could come back here and steal all the items in it to use for the build. So ideally, I want to space these out so I'm not losing up on stuff. You suck! You suck! Oh, you suck! I know you suck! You are annoying! You all are very annoying. What? What? Why are you dropping honeycomb? Oh, because I'm hitting you with a lucky axe. It does something random to you every time I hit you. Oh. That's cool. Where? Oh, you suck. You annoying little butthead. Okay, we have some things going on at least. If I get a sword, I can break that cobweb later to get string and get wool? Or make some other things? I made more friends. Those are not blocks. I need blocks. That's blocks. Yep, blocks. That didn't break as much of the tree as I needed it to. And now I'm out of a lucky axe. No, Batman! No, Batman, no, Batman! None of these spawn a bed, so unfortunately the only way to handle these guys is to just... there is literally only one way to get rid of them. And I want this to be actually a nice looking video, so... yeah. We're just gonna have those on standby for me. Okay, there's literally no way to get rid of them. There's no way to change the weather because I don't have the time going, so I could have nice daytime recording. Another tree. Nice. Some of them just spawn trees. Olive, you stay fine? Okay, there's a lot... It's giving me a lot of wood that I'm allowed to take because it's made from the lucky block. There we go! Stuff! For me! For me, it is. Lucky compass. Find nearby lucky... Oh, I don't care about that. I just need diamond block. That will do. I don't know what we'll use it for, but we'll use it for... I like Parrot! I don't know what name is... What name is Parrot? Parrot? What is name? Name? Coco! Can I have Coco? Coco, can I have you back? Come back to me, Coco. Coco? Coco? Wait, Coco? Thank you. And of course, okay, Ash. Nice name. That is not what I needed. I think... I want to make a diamond sword. Immediately. Diamond sword and chest plate, probably? Yeah? Oh, wait. No, I can't. Diamond... Wait, we'll do leggings, I guess. That's fine. Nice. I know I can offhand these and just do this. Oh, there we go. Any more diamonds from No, of course not. No, 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 no! I know what this one. I know what this one is. No, don't, please don't, don't. My cat's at my door at the worst time possible. I know little butthead would even help me fight the spiders. Not even in real life. Why is the dog not helping kill the spiders? Shouldn't the dog do that? Why the dog not doing that? What the dog doing? Dog not doing nothing. Please, 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 please. I would like to try and do this without dying at all. That'd be great. That'd be a wonderful side goal. Or at least the least amount of times possible. Last time I died a lot when I was testing this. Please do not do the thing you were trying to do. I'll take the string. Pretty please. Thank you. That was a jump scare. Okay, there's only 2. But I'm trying not to hurt. Okay, there is 3, actually. But that might just be natural spawns. I do not know. Okay. Oop. There we go. That is not the right thing. There we go. Okay. Well, isn't that a wonderful start? I almost debated starting up there. Or, like, building on... doing the lucky blocks up there, but I'm like, I'm just gonna fall. No! There's a reason I said least amount of times. At least that's a good way to keep track of how much I do. I was hurting some of the poor animals over there. Oh, I made more friends. It's fine. I made more absolutely horrid cats that don't look right. What are you? What? Oh, it doesn't know what to do because of all the dogs. Oh, what? What? No, stop out of here. Yeah, just hurt the dog, or hurt the skelly. Oh, hurt the skelly horse too, that works. No, you won't attack the skelly horse? Okay. There we go. Oh, drop a piece of... Did it drop a piece of... The iron has to be from somewhere else, because I don't think that's how skeletons work. Okay. What are you? A lot of more animals. You suck. God, you suck. No, not this! Not this! This was literally the worst thing you could have given me. Why did you do this to me? I don't have any blocks in my inventory. No, I do have blocks. I do have blocks. I just need to be able to find a moment. If you can't tell, I added some cursed textures to my game for the funnies. Why did I make leggings and then it decided to give me leggings? If you dare destroy this place, it's not helpful. You can't really get through it. It's not easy to get through anyway. But if you last all the rounds, you actually do get something good. So that's what I'm gonna try and do. Okay. The next one is skeletons, so I'm gonna just hope. Actually, let me sit back. We exist for a moment. I'm gonna see all the things I can do and I need to do. What can I do when I'm right here? I could make a bunch more armor. That's not how you make a crafting table. I can make a bunch more armor because I have a bunch of iron on me, which is gonna be so much more helpful. Boop. Boop. Boop, boop. Perfect. Okay. So now I won't be dying as much. Yeah. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. Okay, yes, I know, sir. I know. Among Us. There we go. This is why I should have healed. I should have healed up before. I'm just gonna hope that most of them start fighting each other. But they're lagging across my screen for some reason. Why are you teleporting? I should not have lucky blocks in my offhand. I don't want to lose any of the lucky blocks, so I do have to place these. Okay. Do have to break them real quick. It placed another one! Why did you do another one? It is a second one of the exact same thing. Okay, I'll take the stick. I mean, it's perfectly placed me in between them. So... I'm not too upset by this. Oh, it replaces it. Does that give me infinite stone? It's infinite stone. Just gonna sip on my matcha. Nummy. Oh, right, my cat. That's the thing. Oh no, I'm being attacked. Alright. You know the rules, sir. You interrupt stream, you get to be on stream. You wanna tell any you wanna say anything about that? You wanna say anything? No? Yeah. No, if you look a little to the right, little more, you're kinda missing it. No? He's almost looking at it. Almost looking at the camera. Okay, actual troubles that are being had. Grab. Did it I think it fixed itself. Okay. Okay. Did it? Yes, it did. It got rid of the other one. It must have finished it. Yes, it did. Okay. No, 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 no. No, 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 nos, no, 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 nos, no, no, nos, Umanos. I was trying to do this and I was failing miserably. Oh. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Are they all just gonna go up? Yep, they're just gonna go up. And they're probably gonna get teleported back. No! No, you suck! You suck! You suck! You suck! I'm pretty sure this is the last wave, but you suck. Okay! It's fine! It's okay. Did they give me back my cobblestone? There we go. I don't have sticks. Because I just need some sort of axe. That'd be great. And then I can go around and get all the trees, and I can start hoarding everything that I'm gonna need. Actually, I should probably just leave this here and make like some sort of base. We could put a mini base in the blacksmith place. As long as I stay far away from that, it should be fine. Theoretically. Diamonds! And another lucky block. Lovely. I love that so much for me. Okay, we take this back. I turn it back today. Take all this stuff back. Honestly, I have more ideas, and I would love more ideas for mods. I need to just start scrolling through mods and see what crazy stuff pops up that could potentially be used as a build challenge. Oh, you know what? I'll let this bottom chest be all the blocks that we're gonna use, and then up here can be some miscellaneous stuff that I'm not sure I'm gonna use, but I'm just gonna keep regardless, because I'm just gonna hoard everything. And I'm gonna try not keep too much in my inventory, so I can attempt to hoard everything and literally everything I come across. I will keep food on me. That's a food. Why do I have a stack and some of torches? You know, that's fine. I'm not gonna actually use them immediately, but I'm glad to have them. I'll keep some signs. Okay, collection for a little bit. So I have everything that I can use and I'm not losing anything. That could be another layer to the challenge, is I have to just keep on going. But for now, I'm gonna play it a little safe. I think I'll do that for the last 32. Half of it I'll be playing it safe and start collecting stuff. The other half, we're just gonna go. If I lose it, that sucks. That sucks, man. That sucks. But we're gonna fully survival this. If anything, I'm not gonna pull anything from creative, we're just gonna go with whatever I'm given. Doink, doink, doink. I should bring the crafting table over here. That would be a smart move. I also have crafting tables. I'm just leaving crafting tables everywhere. Stealing that chest too. magma. Oh, the wood. Yes, very good. This is probably gonna be made out of spruce. I'm not gonna plant any more trees. I'm not gonna plant extra trees. We're not gonna go hardcore survival on this. Just whatever I'm given, I have to use that. If I start running out of tools and I'm struggling to build it, I'm just gonna give myself more tools, but... I think in large part, it's gonna be just as survival as I can possibly manage. And also move these over to that chest. I don't know what this organization is. It's something. It is certainly something. I'm gonna drain all these berries, apparently. I'm really hoping there is a well that gives you a bunch of food, if you get lucky enough to have that. So that's about everything so far. So back to the... What? Why? What? What? I'm gonna grab blocks, cause what? I do not understand. I'm gonna start just keeping a crafting table back here and just... Yep, crafting tables. I'll keep one outside and then one inside. So I have a little bit of easy access for one of them at least. Yeah, I'll take the last ingot. Take the last ingot, a couple sticks, make some shovel. So I can have some excess to build with. Or that would go against my rules, wouldn't it? What is the build rule? I'm gonna apply that. I'm gonna apply that as logic. Yep. Logic. I'm gonna continue to apply that. I'm not gonna grab anything from the environment. If it explodes because of, like, creepers or TNT, it's free game. Because that's because of the lucky block I'm able to grab it. But I'm not allowed to, like, actually go for it. What is in... Alright. Thank you. Was this the reward chest for the other one? That I didn't get to grab? Probably, I think. Maybe. Because I only grabbed one of them, right? Dunked my footstool. Okay. That gives us some obsidian to work with, though. So we're actually shaping up to be pretty good already. We want these down here. This is annoying me. So I'm gonna fix it before we move on. I'll leave the chest in there. Hopefully I shouldn't need more than a double chest for all the blocks. For a lucky block, we're barely a fourth of the way in. We're not doing that bad. Yeah, just a tree. It's just a tree. That's fine. Give me all the nummy blocks. And there is keep the inventory on, because otherwise this would just be hectic as hell and I wouldn't be able to do much of anything. Can you give me a lucky block on top of that? No? Okay. Anything else? No! Why? Why? I literally just put away everything. I literally just put away all my extra blocks. You all... I learned my lesson from last time. We're gonna heal up. I have learned my lesson. Yes, yeah, I know. I know, y'all. Yep. They can be able to attack each other with me standing right here. Kind of. I'm gonna chomp this down so we have the blocks to work with, and then start going after them. Please. This is part of the reason why this was so fun for me too in testing. I don't think I only got this tower twice. So far we've gotten it thrice though. Why are you teleporting around? That's not fair. Actually, before I finish, okay. I'll take a shield. A shield will be useful right now. And a backup axe, sure. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly why shield's useful. 1, 2, 3, so they don't hit me. Okay. And then as soon as this is up, I gotta be quick, and place a bunch of blocks. So the spiders can't get to me. Boop, boop. I could have just placed that right now, though. And no spiders there. You were already in the spot. There we go. Okay. We learning, we getting better. I am not getting better, apparently. They are just spiders, though. I have decent armor. They are just spiders. So it's not too much of an annoyance. Okay. You didn't even get... Where's my... Why? 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 I can't get... Why? That has to be a bug, right? Because I did not have that in testing. That was not occurring. I'll go grab the cobblestone. I love this. I love this so much. So much. Why is it doing that to me? I just, you know, want to be able to play the game that I'm trying to play. Turn it back to day. You absolute butthead. Can I just get my loot? Oh, there's some diamonds in there. I can switch out for some diamond tools. Picked up most of that. I don't know why that sign's floating, but I'm gonna take it too. Slurp. The matcha. There we go. Pick up chest. Okay. I keep trying to elytra guide. I've been elytra guiding too much because of Passion SMP. We're gonna immediately switch out and get me a diamond pick. Probably just a diamond tool set, honestly. Go all in, why not? Yeah, I'll just throw. Yep. And if it's not, then yep, and then yep. I'll actually throw bones on that one. I'm gonna keep the cobblestone on me at this point. We're gonna go boop, and then boop. So now, we are doing pretty fine for ourselves. Okay, cool. I don't know why I'm trying to pick that up. I don't need to, at all. I still have gold. I don't need gold. I don't need the gold. Thank you. I need food. That's what I need. I need food. I need to get food. But it's not giving me food, it's just giving me battle towers. Not a battle tower. Okay, that's fine. That's okay, that's good. I want the iron so I could collect the lava buckets later, perhaps. That'd be a cool thing. Not a battle tower! I would take literally anything else. There's a bunch of other traps. I don't need the battle tower. I don't think I'm gonna be able to stay at my little corner the entire time. So we're just gonna do this the normal way. I could probably get away. Why are you teleporting? If they start attacking each other, do they start teleporting? Actually, do you have food? You don't have food! Why don't you have food? I'm gonna start dying simply because I can't heal. Dude, you suck. Okay, 1, 2, 3, safe. Come on. I just need to get rid of you. So I can do this, and we can fight the spiders, and I can move on! Please, thank you. Okay. Theoretically, I am safe for the moment. Yeah. Okay. Very safe. The safest procedures. Safest procedures. Creepers. Also, that's a resource pack thing. That guy's a resource pack. I can't look down. I like my first person model, but I can't look down at all. Oh, I hate not having enchants. Okay, there's one. There's two. Hey, buddy, you wanna come just a tiny bit over? Hello, Pumpkin. Why's that backwards? Why is that backwards? Where and when did my sources get so mixed up that that is backwards? What happened? What? I probably accidentally clicked flip horizontal instead of center horizontal. That's probably what occurred. Alright, hello Punky. We are doing the lovely Lucky Blocks. And it did it. Why? Stop putting my loot chest in the sky! You're supposed to spawn on the ground! Oh, you gave me another lucky block, yay. Is it gonna be another frickin' arena? No. That's fair. I know it's not supposed to do that. Maybe because I'm not standing on the ground? I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. I know why any of it. I know why some of this. I don't know why all of this. Glow blocks? Glowing blocks? Yeah. Why is this not stack? Oh, it's a very lucky block. 100% lucky. Oh! What you gonna give me? Oh my god. You are coming with me. Come on. Come on. Yeah! Yeah, you're gonna come this way. You are so cool, and I need to keep you safe. You need to be kept safe. You're gonna come over here with me? And we're putting you in the house. You're gonna be safe in the house, alright? Yeah, you're gonna be safe in the house. You're gonna come back here. You're gonna be nice and safe. I can't give you the wheat seeds, unfortunately, but you're gonna be safe in here, okay? Okay. Cool. Nice, okay. I have no idea what this... I'm guessing we're gonna have to wait 5 minutes or so for him to lay an egg or whatever's gonna happen. Make a wish, please! Food! I'm gonna walk away in case. Yummy wish! Yes! Yes, food! Food! Please! I don't have the inventory! I was very worried this would occur, and it immediately occurred! Okay, we're gonna throw stuff back in the house. Dog, Mew, what's up? What is it? What is? I need- that's way too- that's- That's gonna be annoying. I might need to place another chest just for all the random stuff that this is gonna give me. I don't think there's anything I can use gunpowder for. Like, I can make TNT, but that's not really useful. I'm gonna make another- I'm gonna grab one of these chests and put it off to the side, so I can just have food access. I've been sick for 3 days now. My mom felt so bad, she went out and got me the thing that you shove up your nose. Wash and flush your nose. You know what? Sometimes you just need to. Bottles? Bottle? Bottle. Bottle. Nice. Food. Throw some food up there. Keep some other food on me. We will come back and break that. I want to grab all the food. We're not at the 32 that I will start just spamming them. Okay. Lots of food. Very safe. Nice. And I can go back steal stuff from that well to make whatever we decide to make as well. Oh yeah, right. Food. Just a bunch of foods. There's a bunch of bread. I will take a bunch of bread. A little more chicken. Mutton and chicken are about the same. Downside, we don't have a distilled water. Bright side, I have a crap ton of saline wash to use my clean piercings with. Until I get distilled water. I can't read, apparently. Okay, please. Please. You know what? That's fine. I'm okay with this, actually. I seriously just didn't want it to be in TNT because it was so close to the base. Thank you, pufferfish. Of course, I'm in the middle of the canyon. Okay. Get rid of all the stuff that's going on around me. Please. You all. You're coming with me. You're coming home. We're gonna have so many gold. I need to make we're gonna make a barn or something. We're gonna make a farmhouse for these golden hens. That's what we're gonna do. Come here, come here. I'm gonna make the cutest farmhouse you ever did see. With interiors. Oh, there's a game I want to play with you at some point. Oh? Pray tell, pray tell. Is it the chameleon thing? I've been meaning to buy it. I just need to sit down and buy it because we've been talking about doing it. There's iron under that! We've been talking about doing it for Passion SMP as an event. Although it might end up just being like me and Lilac unless we rope Misty into it. Yes, yeah. That's been a huge craze lately. There we go. Oh, the chickens! Stay in there! I played it with some friends today and it was so fun. I've been watching Grian play it. I just need to actually sit down and buy the game, but I've been busy with the path and then I needed to record and then we need to do this today because tomorrow's Father's Day, so I couldn't do it then. So it's been busy, 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 and there are things I need to do and I haven't had the time to do them. Oh, they have so many little animals. Okay, we're gonna move. I can't lead like any of these. Unfortunately, I wish I could, but I can't. I want to move far away that nothing else could get hurt. Something else can get hurt. Okay. Oh, we're at 31. I need to just start spamming them. We're just gonna start spamming. I'll come back for that later, maybe. It's a whole tower, that's fine. Of course, it's thunder. There's a random chest. There's a bunch of loot. I'll take. Thank you. Just gonna start spamming. Like Thing Among Us days. Yeah. Or kind of like Repo a little bit. Repo had that flair for a minute. Oh, I do have a cursed thing. There are Repo chat heads you can get. And I may or may not have added them, and I'm gonna start using them in the next episode. Because I always have my mic on, so every time I go and like look at the camera and start talking, it's just gonna start doing the Repo head talk, and I can't wait to see what in the world that looks like. Oh, that's a whole set of armor. Hello. Give me that. Golden Guardian. I don't have any room in my inventory! We stopped for a moment purely because I need to be able to pick up stuff. This kind of goes against what I was trying to do, but whatever. I need to actually be able to do the things that I need to do. This lets me do the things I need to do. But I guess that's it. I don't know. I'm just throwing it in here. I will keep that on me. I'll keep the wheat seeds on me in case we get more golden hens. Have they actually laid anything? Do they lay lucky blocks? Do they? I'm gonna have to keep an eye on the amount of lucky blocks I have when I come back in there. We need a time set day and weather clear. Amogus. You missed some chats, but Nightbot interrupted me. Oh. Alright, I don't have it in my offhand. Make a wish! Where's my coin? There's my coin. I don't really need the shovel. Let's see what I missed. Like, I normally pull some bull when playing right. Imagine it times 10. Like the Among Us days. Okay. Boink. I'm gonna run just in case. Yummy wish! Cool, okay. That's fine. I am good with this. This is okay. I can rock with this. Yeah, don't mind me, sir. I just need food. I need the food. Yeah, I need the food. Don't mind me. I just need the food. I need the food. I need the food. I've immediately gone back to not spamming the blocks, and I apologize for that, sincerely. No way, even better. I know the game! Pumpkin, I know the game. Oh, they dropped gold! I know the game, Pumpkin. I've been watching the game constantly. I just haven't personally played it yet. I just need to sit down and buy. Excuse me, sir. We need to be spamming lucky blocks. Don't mind me. Okay, most of the animals have spread out over here, so I feel safe enough to do it again. Bouncy house, that's fine, cool. Actually, this is a really easy building block, hold on. This is really easy for me to move around and grab and go them. I might also accidentally destroy whatever base I've made, but I think that just adds to the funniness. What I did to the class when I graduated, kind of heinous. I'm not describing the game, I'm talking about the heinous shit I got. I do not remember if you've told me what you did. I don't remember. Oh, wait, no, I know. I know. The mushroom men. I know. Assuming you're talking about the mushrooms. And general projects that you left laying around. What are you referring to, then? If you're not referring to the copious amount of mushroom-themed ceramics that you left for the poor ceramics teacher. Where, we could throw the rest of that in there. And I don't need to have cobblestone on me anymore. I need to go grab the iron blocks as well. Hello, Shadow! Welcome! The Easter egg hunt. I don't think you told me about that. Oh, you just, like, we're still talking about the same thing, then. The mushrooms just I did not know it's expanded across different classrooms, Pumpkin. You did not tell me that part. I am only aware of the ceramics class. What do you mean you spread mushrooms across 5 different classrooms? Okay. We're fine. It dropped blocks. It dropped cobblestone. I'm gonna steal that. This is safe. What's your profanity? Did that play double? Because I heard double and I want to double check. I want to check. Did that play double? Because if it is, I might need to fix that. Or that's just a me thing, having problems. Not on our end. Okay, I will deal. That's fine. Make a wish. Oh no, what will it be? I'm gonna run just in case. Just in case. Yeah, that's why I'm running. That's why I'm running. Where am I? I'm in the crater. Okay. That's exactly why. Just pop down a couple little zombies. Oh, it's burning. It's burning my well. Oh well. Doink. Oh, another statue thing. Are you gonna break? Right. There we go. Can you not? Can you not? Thank you. Okay, back to spamming. Why? Why have you forsaken me? How? Oh! I wanted. What? What? Oh, there's water down there. That's supposed to, I think that's supposed to go a lot deeper. Just a lovely giant thing of lava. Great. I won the last 16. You know what I'm gonna do for the last 16? Because I think this would be fun. We're gonna go over here, and I am gonna build in a tunnel, in a tower up, and then we're gonna break all of them down one by one. I'm gonna go sleep now. Okay. Have a good night, Shadowvale. Have a good night. Just a chest? Okay. Break chest. Give me that loot. Thank you. That's not helpful. You know what that kind of is, actually. I don't... No, it will burn. It will burn. It will burn that. It will burn that. Okay. Eat. Nope. Good thing I have the dirt. Good thing I have the dirt. 'Cause... Oh geez, text paragraph. Anyway, no, the mushrooms was me just starting a trend in one class period, and then the other 5 I was in started doing it, so it got to the point that the poor teacher decided to make me load and unload the kilns due to the vast amount of them, and he got so sick of them. Same thing happened with pumpkins and mini sculptures. Oh, different, like, oh, different... I thought you meant different classes as in, like, oh, math class and science class, not different class periods. Okay, I understand now. Then yes, I have heard of this. Can I just do this? And then we're fine, right? I think? Oh, this is the exact location of my last death. Oh, because I did just die. I thought I was thinking about, I was some reason thinking about that one. And not... Yeah, that would... I'm just gonna... Yeah. I'm trying to let the lava go down as well. You know, I'm willing to pile back a second time because my inventory's full. We are gonna do the full tower. I want the lava gone so I can actually pick up items. The thing I'm talking about is the Easter egg hunt I left for him. You were literally there. After 3 years of me being out of that classroom bringing all the stuff he didn't find, there was legit just a box with my name on it, like 4 unfired pieces. Okay. Easter egg hunt is a very vague thing, and I thought you were talking about something completely different and not the same thing that we've already expanded upon. We're gonna throw pumpkin pies away. Oh, they're dropping some gold nuggets, too. Now I'm writing this out makes me realize how much I got up to drive that man crazy. No, really? But genuinely it is very funny. But the way you worded it, Pumpky, sounded like you were talking about something completely different. And I tried to bring up, is this a completely different thing? And you just kept going on, so I thought it was a completely different thing. I could grab the iron later. We need to do the tower. Thank you, Nightbot. All things considered, this isn't too bad. I've died 4 times so far. Watch me find a way to die again while I'm building. Probably. This is a horrid block to tower with, by the way. I need him. Because you can't jump off of it. Okay, that's fine. This is okay. That's okay. Give me the bread. Where? No, did it get rid of all my It got rid of the rest of the lucky blocks. Okay. It probably did, but I want to check anyway. Did it? It got rid of the rest of the lucky blocks. Well, I mean, I have a lot of cobblestone now, but... How did the sniffer get up there? What? No, how? I don't remember you spawning up there. Because there... Oh no, that is a different one. Did you spawn up there? Did you? Okay. We're gonna see what we have, and then I'm gonna start ransacking things for materials. And see what I can conjure up and build. Hello, frog. That ended up being a lot shorter just because I towered all the blocks together. I should have just been spamming them. Because that was a concern from the start. I just kind of forgot about it. I'm like, haha, let's do this for the funnies, and then... Yeah. Okay. We want to make a cute little farmhouse for the chickens. I feel like it's mostly going to be spruce wood. We have a little bit of dark wood. I have some cobblestone. This is probably going to be like starter base kind of thing. I wish I could build this out of oak. I don't really have... Oh wait, hold on. We do have oak. I can steal from the other place. I can steal from the other one. I can get oak that way. But we have a lot of spruce. I just want to use the spruce. I just want to use the spruce. I'm being asked to do things. Oh, 7. Alright, bye-bye, Pumpkin. Have a nice day. Oh, that's literally the perfect spot to build this. It's literally all by itself in a cute little spot. That is perfect. I didn't even realize that was there. I did not realize until literally this exact moment. But it is perfect, far away from the destruction. And I can just do this and we can pretend there is no destruction that was there. Fantastic. Okay. I do want to build this as a genuine farmhouse, so I'm gonna actually like think out floor plans and make this an actual farmhouse, hopefully. I didn't bring literally any... I keep doing that. I guess I have that now. I keep doing that. I shouldn't be doing that. I have enough stuff I can make a stonecutter, right? Because that'd make my life a lot easier. Do I have my stonecutter mod? Would it help me? I don't know if I have my stonecutter mod on here. I don't think I do. I probably don't. Oh, no. You stay in here. Yes, nice gold, thank you. I appreciate the nuggets. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna bother. We're just gonna build to the best of our abilities, and it's probably gonna be entirely spruce. But we're gonna do the best we can. I could probably do... I have this stuff, I could do a little campfire and do a little fireplace. We could do that. Oh, I'm gonna have to strip these by hand. That's gonna be great. This is gonna be so... I'm gonna build, like, all the floors out of slabs just so I can save on materials. This gives me a very limited set to work with, but we're gonna try. We can try. That's a thing we can do. I have some dirt. I can terraform this area, so I am gonna act like we're gonna do that. I want to do a 3-wide porch right here. Something like this. Or maybe not this big. A little smaller. I want this to be like a cute... You'd see it while you're driving past some countryside kind of thing. One more so it match. Do I want a center? If I do this, it'd be a centered. So I can work with that. This is kind of going to end up log cabin-y, though. Unless I decide not to. For now, until I figure out exactly how I'm doing this, just do this to work with. I want it to be a little farmhouse. I need a tiny bit of room to do that, though. Yeah, we can do this. We can do this. And then there'll be a kitchen, little dining, and then back here, there'll be a staircase that goes up, and then a side door that goes out. Or no, we could put this in the middle of the house. I would much prefer that in the middle of the house. I could do that here. And that goes out to the chickens. Wouldn't that be bad? That'd be... we're gonna have this as one room, and then have the stairs going out. Are the stairs connect up to the kitchen, and just have it one big room? Yeah? Or no, it'd be better as a bunch of closed rooms, probably. And decisiveness... That is me. Very, very much. Because my brain's thinking, I want a nice little closed, cute room. And I want to fit the stairs in here at some point somehow as well. Okay. I'm gonna put a cute little dining room here. And then have stairs in here, I think, is how we're gonna go about this. And I'm gonna expand this to two more. And we can do a closed off staircase. There we go. That could almost be an actual floor plan. This is probably somebody's house. Like, actual house. And for the sake of me saving my logs as much as I can, this is probably just gonna be a little tiny boy. I didn't get any glass. That is a thing you can get. I didn't get any of that, so we're gonna have to be creative about windows. We're gonna be creative about a lot of things. The brain short-circuited. Yes. Yes. Grab. Move to better spot. This could honestly just be the permanent spot for it, too. All the things. There we go. Should be enough. Probably. Should be fine. It's so weird working with such limited blocks, because I'm usually hoarding, and before I even start building, I make sure I have, like, at least decent materials, decent tools. But we're not even doing that. We're not doing that. We are just doing the best we can with what we got. That one's gonna need to be this. And I need more stairs. I'm not gonna use these. I'm not. Might as well just turn them into stairs. You know what we're gonna do in the interest of saving the materials I have as much as possible. We're doing that. How can I make that little corner tall enough for you to actually go through it? I might need to move the staircase again. Because there's no room for me to make a roof tall enough to do that unless I make a second floor. I have to move the stairs to a better spot where I can actually pull that off. I'm thinking probably either here or here. I don't know. Because my brain is trying to work out in my head like, oh, maybe I could do this floor, maybe I could do this here, but no, that conflicts with this here. Because if I pull off this, then I don't have the tiny kitchen No, I can do a tiny kitchen that I want. I could do an extra tiny kitchen, actually, if I do this. And then I have the door for the stairs right here. There we go. That'll work. Okay. Just need to talk it out sometimes. Talk it out, figure it out. That is not the correct tool again. Okay. Talk it out, work it out. I need all the thoughts are in here. I need to start just pelting them, just complete bullet spray and see what lands and see what works. Because apparently that's what my brain do. That's how it do. I cannot explain. It just is. I want a door here, and I know I'm gonna need a door over here. I'm thinking in the interest of saving space and also making a cool looking door, we're gonna do this and this. I need the door on the other way, please. Thank you. And then I'm gonna save more materials by doing this. Nope. Because this area, I can work with the roof and make it tall enough for me to actually do this. Brain running really fast, and it can't keep up. I could put my little cooking campfire back here as well, before I forget about that. Do that. Actually, we can save on resources and do this. And then, I know I have more cobblestone, we just need to go get it. And brain can't think. I need to build walls. I need to build the actual walls. Unfortunately, it's all gonna be spruce plank. Because that's just what I have available. I probably should have done like dark oak floor. It's fine. It's fine. It is what it is. This is gonna be just an entirely spruce house. That's what it's shaping up to be. But I am very limited in the blocks I have, and the only reason I can do this is I happen to get a tall spruce tree. That is the only reason that this is even feasible. That I can actually complete this challenge as I wanted. Otherwise, there's going to be a very poor, tiny imitation of a house. You know, we're going to switch the side on that thing is on. I want to have some negative space. There we go. And I'm thinking maybe just have a little window like that. Maybe. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm already almost out of blocks, so this is not good. I don't even know what I'm gonna do the roof. The roof is probably gonna be dirt. It's probably gonna be dirt. That's the only thing I have enough of that could make a roof. We're just gonna do these. This is our windows now. These are windows. If I get enough of these, then I can do... If I remember correctly, I am hoping I am. I probably am, yes. This is our window now. I don't have any better ideas. I need block. Block. Okay, and also block there. And block there. And then slab over top. Except this time it actually has a purpose. And I'm actually need it to be a slab so I have more room downstairs, otherwise it's just going to be a 2-block tall ceiling. Do we want to go all in and try and make this entire area? You know what, we're just going to do a loft. We're just going to loft it. Just one little bedroom upstairs. Because that's what's going to save me the most materials. Boop. And then to make this work, I can do centered on this, so this will be the tallest point, and you can actually walk around the space. And then bring that along to here. And if I used... Did I use all of my spruce planks? Just my spruce logs just now? I do have to walk a long way back, which is annoying, but we're gonna try our best. And do what we can. I can get rid of all the deaths now. 4 times, not bad. There we go. I guess I can steal some spruce from there, push come to shove. I could use some of the oak logs as well. Did I use all of... I did. At least I got some free furnaces. And chests. And torches. Yeah, dirt's the only thing I have enough of. I don't have more cobblestone. Oh no. I can steal cobblestone from these. That's fine. I can steal cobblestone from these. I can steal from... No! You saw... No. Get back here. You gotta come back in the house. Get back in the house. I don't want to lose you. We're gonna come steal from the stupid place that stole all of my stuff. I want other lighting. We're gonna use these as well. I have stone brick I can steal from here. We could do that. So we have a few more options. I want to steal a few of these. I don't need a lot. I will use walls. I do want walls. We could do some stone brick walls to break up some of the things going on. The main goal is literally just make anything that's a decent build. But side goal, if I can be able to, I would love to make this a genuinely cool looking nice build. That would be very nice to do. Where are you? Amogus. Oh, there's why are there items over here? When did this happen? I'll take them. Thank you. I could do a cobblestone roof. That is something available to me. It's not the thing I necessarily want to go with, but we can. I think dirt would be really funny to do, though. I kind of just want to do that for the fun of it. Amogus. Where is this zombie? Where? Is there a zombie in the house up there? No? I can't pick up that. Get rid of that. Where? There's one all the way down there, but you shouldn't be that loud. I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Just gonna try. We're gonna try the best we can. My brain's still trying to think and do things. But it's failing. Very, very bad. I don't want that block. Good thing I don't have the inventory for it. I want both of those. Give! Okay. I can come steal blocks from over here too. Yeah. I don't think that's gonna fit in with the vibes I want too much. I don't have... You're not the same one. You oxidized. I can't grab you. I don't have the inventory. I'll probably come back and steal some more oak as well, some of the logs. And use that as a trim for the roof. I want to do this so I can do a tiny bit of a gabled roof here, I think is the correct term that I want, that I'm trying to go for. I want to do 2 lanterns like I saw. Give. Thank you. Brain is struggling. Please. I just want to build a thing. And go have some pie. I have strawberry pie waiting on me that I would love to eat. I would love that very dearly. But I gotta finish this first so I can do video. So I can do the things that I need to do. And do the things that I say I'm going to do. So it's almost like, oh, I'm already doing a Coal of Lamb for side thing. That's going up the same day. On the second channel. Do I really want to do another video? But then I did the outro and I said, oh, I'm gonna do another video, but... Damn me for following through on my promises. Okay, I want to do... Probably starting from here, we'll do a little cute. I want to go 1, 2, 3 over. Perfect, I can do that. And then do some stone brick walls. Yes. And then I would like to do... Yeah, we'll just do 1. 1's fine. Nope. There we go. Bonk. I need all the things, and I don't have them ever. Doink. Doink. There we go. And then make more, I guess? Make some more. Just a little bit more fence. Oop. Probably just 1 over here should be fine. And then we'll do... I'm gonna switch these. I can do this. Do I want... How do... Ah, we could do this thing instead. I want to do this thing. I don't have the blocks to do this thing. I will figure out the blocks to do it. I have to juggle them around until I get something right. There we go. Yeah, I guess we're gonna. You know what? We're gonna do different thing. We're gonna do that, and then that. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I like that. I'm okay with that. And then I don't have more cobblestone. We've learned this. We've figured this out. I need that to be at least a tiny bit taller than the top of the roof. I'm gonna fill the interior with dirt, because I know I have more dirt. I don't know if I'll have enough dirt for everything after this, but... Well, we're just gonna try. We're just gonna try. I do need to seriously grab more oak if I want to do that trim, though. I do seriously need to do that. So I'm gonna need more. I'm just gonna need more. I'm gonna steal all the corners off of this house, see if that's enough. If not, we go to the other house, because that's gonna be a hassle. But I should be fine. I should be more than fine out of stealing. There's an attic? This building has an attic? Since when? Since when? Noted. Okay. Cool, I guess. I could probably steal just most of the... Honestly, I just really want the stairs mostly. So I can completely just cut the process by stealing all of theirs. And a few slabs here and there should do more than enough. Oh no, those aren't slabs, those are more stairs. Okay, that's fine. It'll work too. It's the same. It's just the same. Is that good? That's fine. That should be more than enough to try and finish this. I shouldn't. There is an interesting choice of roof. I'm gonna see if I have more. I should have more. If not, I might need to take some items back. But I'm not sure how easy that's gonna be to do. Doot. Okay, there is a little bit more dirt. That should be enough for a roof. Maybe. Maybe. We will see. We will see. We will see. Hopefully. I said I want to do an interior. I'm still going to try and do interior. We have enough oak. I could probably get away with doing interior just in oak blocks. Make a fake little interior. That is to say, nothing necessarily functional. Maybe a couple chests here or there. That's probably the most I'm going to be able to do. I need to take all these items and move that off to the side. I don't know why I'm still holding all of that. I don't need it anymore. Brain has to function, but it doesn't want to. Dude. And how? How's? How? Because I need this to connect. I need to do like this, and then it will change to like this. Yeah, we'll do that for this one. But then I need this to run farther. So maybe something like that? Because ideally I wanted to be like right here. So how do I make that make sense? With a little bit of fuckery, that's how. No! You suck! No. I just need to do the thing. We need to do the thing, so I can do other things with my life. And then we do a stair here that will connect back up to the normal roof here. That's how we do it. If it don't make sense, you make it make sense. And I already need more slabs. Boink. And yeah. My brain's like, Electroglide over there. No, I don't have one. I keep falling off of my own roof. I'm going the wrong way. I don't need the crafting table. I just need to go to the roof and do the things that I need to do so I can do other things. Boop. And then doink. Temporary. Change that out. That was actually correct. I am wrong. That. And then doink doink. And then that. Boop. Which connects back up like this. into this. There we go. And now we finally are just doing literally the most basic normal roof you've ever possibly ever seen. And we come back here and do something similar, but not quite. Where we go like this. And connect it up to another one. I miss Swift Sneak. I miss Swift Stink very dearly. But I do not have it. I do not. I am gonna run out of stairs. Running out of blocks all the time. Always. Always, 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 always. Always. All the ways to run out of blocks. Dumb ways to build. So many dumb ways to build. Dumb ways to build. So many dumb ways to build. It almost became the actual song instead of a parody. I bet somebody has probably done so like that. Probably. I don't know what I was trying to pull there. Probably just like, oh, I'll do that and they'll jump down. But my brain just, instead of doing anything actually useful, it keyboard smashed both commands at the same time. And then we curl the stair so I can do this. And then connect those up as they're supposed to be. Which lets me come over here. And I'm gonna need this to be dirt. So this can be dirt. So this can be dirt. So then I can finally start doing this. Boop, boop. Block. Boop, boop. And that should be all of those. I think. And now it's finally just dirt. A bunch of dirt all the time, always, everywhere. If I could, I'd try and make this into grass. I don't know if they fixed or changed that. I have no idea how the grass thing works. I think you still need a block of grass for the rest of it to become grass. I'm mostly certain of that. Am I gonna have enough dirt? Am I? I might have to do a couple splotches of other block. Oh my god, I'm gonna need to do that. I need to do a splotch of other blocks because I don't have enough. I don't think so anyhow. Yeah, that is not enough. I have 15 blocks left, and we still have a quarter of the roof. Yeah, it's a barely there, but I don't. Okay. It's time to get creative. This would have been fine if I didn't do the side roof, but I wanted to do a side roof for the chickens. So here we are. I have moss and coarse dirt. I did get those, so we could throw those in. I have a bit of mossy cobblestone. We have a bit here or there to work with. But I can't collect dirt unless the lucky block has spawned it, or otherwise created it for me. A little bit of coarse dirt, a little bit of moss, a little bit of stone and mossy cobblestone. If I grab all those and throw them together, eventually I might end up with something that looks like a texture. Yeah, I can do that. I can make that look like a texture. I can do that. I'm confident in that. It's going to be a very interesting one, but it would make sense. Actually, make more sense if I kind of got rid of the stone, or... Yeah, it would. If I don't worry about the stone, then I can make this make sense. Just take some of these. I'm gonna have to do these in little splotches, probably. Because literally, I'm already out of that. I probably am gonna need... Oh, I do still have coarse dirt that I can do in little splotches. I think everything's gonna have to be accompanied by moss. Just a tiny bit of moss here or there. And do a little bit of the stone. Because why not? Why not at this point? Is this block? This block. Boop, 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 and a doink, because I have way more stone than the rest of it. Doop, doop. I can do some path blocks as well to add a little pizzazz to the roof. I just removed that coarse dirt. Oh well. At least it's not so lonely. And then I could do another one there. Do doink, doink, boop. Hit doink, boop, doink. It's a lot of texture going on in this area because I don't have a lot else left. Boop, boop. Get rid of those. Doot, doot, doink. I have done these very, very incorrectly. And I don't know how I didn't realize it sooner. But I didn't. I kind of need these to not be, because otherwise you could just see them, and I don't want you to. You could see through the roof, and I don't want that aesthetic. It'd probably fit, but I don't want it for this build, in particular. I'm gonna take that back. It's not gonna turn back into stone, but that's fine. I'm gonna do another piece of stone here, and do another piece of stone. Alright, here. Trying to make the rest of it make sense as it's supposed to. And might as well do this here. There we go. And I ended up with leftover dirt. I didn't do any texturing down there. Just gonna... Yep. Can't do that. I can't do... let me steal a piece of this. Let's steal a piece of that. Yoink. Boink. Yoink. Boink. There we go. Tiny bit of texture. Just a tiny bit. Just a little bit. You know what? I'll just do a cobblestone path. Why not? This is not counting towards my dirt or any of that. This is just a thing I want to do that I do not have all the blocks for. I am now, and only just now, realizing. But if I spread this out enough... Nope. Still missing a few blocks. How do I... I did have a bunch that I put underneath the house as I was plotting stuff out. Yeah. I just need 3 more. Thank you. Replace that. Nope. Nope. Alright. Already forgot. There we go. It's a tiny thing, but it's a cute thing. I literally only have those next to my name, which is going to make this upper area look really awkward and silly and weird. How do I make that make sense? How do I make this make sense? Because I don't have any more spruce. I can make this entire area down here open, but I really like the small, tiny little kitchen. I have an idea that is not... Wait, I can do the... I know what I can do. I know what I can do. We're gonna make a little line with stairs to note the difference. And note that these are different things. But oak would make sense here because I've done it as a trim elsewhere. So we're like, okay, yeah, we know this block. This block's allowed to be here. I can't do this. So we're gonna do this instead. And just let that be open. Doot, and then doot, doot, doot. Yeah. And then... we're gonna do this, because I don't have the room to do anything else. And that kind of makes sense. Can I place anything here? Yes, I can. I can place a singular little window. You can do that. It's a fake, but it works. I can see through that. I'm not supposed to. Boink. There we go. Okay. This is possibly one of the weirdest builds I've made. It exists. It It does. I guess I'm using dark oak planks as my furniture. I was gonna do oak, but I can't do that no more. I do want to make a campfire there. We're gonna do that. I already have that. I want to make... I need planks to do that thing. That should be more than enough for everything I need. And then I need some fences. And we do the good old-fashioned table that we all know and love. And it's going to be with a slab on top, because I need slabs elsewhere, and I'm being very, very cheap about this. You know what, this is just going to be a big old couch. I have decided. I have spoken. It has been decided. There's no going back. I don't know what to do with those leftover fences. I have not a clue. Not a thought in this brain. I'm gonna move this crafting table to be centered, and then make this like a cute little cabinet space. And then this is just a couch. Yep, couch. And now I have like all the furniture on that side of the room, so I'm gonna move it. This one to be on that side of our room, which also lets us have a cute little window seat. Kind of, not really. I have the blocks. Let me just do it proper. There we go, the proper seat we know and love. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, maybe? That's fine. I'm okay with that. And we'll do this so it's actually like, oh, it's got some shelving to it. I can do that here so we have some shelving too. That's fine. Doot doot, move that there. Nice, yeah. This is okay. For how horrid it is, we're actually doing pretty alright. And I'm just gonna be like, oh, there's a bunch of things here, and then there's a bunch of things here, because that's all you could really fit up here. And then there's gonna be a bed here, and we can call it good, right? Pretty much. That's the plan, anyhow. Doot doot. All the torches, because we cannot forget those. I just placed one up here. There we go. And I will place a torch in here, despite not really needing to. I'm moving that torch down to here, because that makes more sense. Boop. Doot doot. I will place some torches on each of these corners. And then it's already got lanterns up front. Oh, that's where that block went. Okay. Okay, I just need to grab, one, the chickens, bring them over. Two, grab some of the coal, make a campfire real quick, and then I think that's it. And we did it. Oh, I will splurge on one item. We're gonna splurge on only one. The lovely, overly expensive. If I craft it correct. What? How? How? Ah, yes, there we go. Dark oak shelves. Hello, hello. Yes, all the good stuff, thank you. Oh, you know what? I have enough stuff now. We're gonna extra splurge. Get myself diamond armor. I ended up not using a whole lot of it, and we didn't actually get that much in the end. Hell, I'm actually looking around. I ended up with decent food, all things considered. Just need that. 3 of that. And a piece of coal. Doink. Doink, doink, doink. Boop. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I did want to, we're gonna grab a bunch of that, so I can do a bunch of this. And I can make a bed. Do I have anything to dye it with? No. It's just gonna be a white bed then. What the hell? Just got like a shiver on my neck. That was weird. I did not like that. and doink, and then I literally only want one of those. Or actually, no, we'll take two. We'll take two. I think that's all I want for those. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm good with that. Alright. Y'all ready to go to your house? Let's go. Come on. Let's go, the lot of you. Yep. Come on. Come on, single file. Please do not go in that lava over there. We're just gonna slowly walk your cute little golden butts over to that... It's a building. I couldn't tell if it was a house, but it's a building that was built. And you're gonna exist right alongside it. No, come on, come on. Come on, Henry. Come on, Henry. That is a poor way to go, but it works. Now, where are you going? Where are you going? Come on. Yeah, there we go. Henry. And... yeah, I definitely know all your names. I know the names you have. Henry and... Cluckington and... David. Come on! There we go, lovely. Yeah, you enjoy your pen? Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. Can you guys make another chicken? No. No, you cannot. Well, you have a nice little spot. You have a nice little place to enjoy. There we go. Little splurgy. Little splurge. And that makes a fully furnished house. It's not super decorated, but it is in fact furnished. It's probably more furnished than some first apartments in general, honestly. Than probably some first houses. It's not the worst. It's not an amazing thing. It's not the worst thing I've built either. Surprisingly. It's interesting. No more different than that, or how that turned out. So I think that's alright. I'm happy with that. That was actually a shorter stream, in all things considered. That's a cute little house. I'm happy with that. Now, Henry, Cluckington, and David can all exist happily in their spot. They have a nice little house. So cute. I love this. I actually do like it. If y'all have any mods, preferably Fabric 1.21.6, 26.1? What version am I on? What am I playing? What am I saying? There we go. Yeah. If y'all have any mods, especially cursed ones that I could do building challenges with, or Fabric 26.1, no following number, not 26.1.1, not 26.1.2, just 26.1, I would love to see them. Next week, I want to do a 2D build challenge, because someone made that. So I want to see if I can build anything in it. That'll be fun, that'll be interesting. I'm very curious to see what I end up doing. But, that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me. We're gonna leave this game so I can actually close off the stream. And I'll see you guys in the next one. There will be no stream tomorrow because it is Father's Day. I keep clinking this little thing. I'm gonna move it off to the side. All my matcha's gone to the bottom and all the water from the ice is at the top. Just start that. Because I just completely forgot that existed. There will be no stream Sunday night, tomorrow night, because it is Father's Day. There will still be a video. It's already up and ready to go, and will be posted at 12 PM PST. And then there will be this video. This edited video will go up. This edited stream will go up as a video the following Wednesday, the 20-something? 24th. The 24th. As well as Cult of the Lamb from Thursday is going to go up. I think I decided I was going to start saving. I don't know if I decided I was going to save the VODs on Twitch or not. I can't remember. But there will be at least supercuts over on the second channel for that. Otherwise, I think that's about it. Passion SMP is still raring. I'm gonna actually be joining another server, and I'll let you know about that, if you stuck around and heard about that. Congratulations, you know more than I think most people around me. But I am going to be joining another server very soon here. So I'll have a nice, fun new skin for that. And I can't wait for y'all to see that. It's still going to be another few weeks until anything for that happens, but that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you Tuesday. Bye-bye.